human rights activist and political analyst Stella Kipkulei. Stella, good evening and thank you very much for your time. So the president has capitulated, but after the loss of more than 22 lives. Your views on all that we've seen in the past few days?
Thank you so much. Again, my name is Stella Kipkulei. I'm a lawyer, human rights activist, and a political analyst. About the recent occurrences in Kenya and particularly about the president withdrawing this punitive financial bill, our position is as follows. First of all, the president does not have the power to withdraw this financial bill. What he did today, he refused to assent this bill into law and directed the bill back to parliament for it to be withdrawn in accordance to the National Assembly standing orders. So basically what will happen is that the chair of the finance committee will introduce a motion in parliament, and that motion will be to withdraw this bill. However, despite this withdrawal, we see that Kenya is still suffering. We have so many abductions. Even as we speak, we have almost 10 people, mostly youths, and these youths have been labeled to be criminals who are organizing and mobilizing for protests. Most of these are student leaders in the universities, in colleges, and young political analysts. As we speak, we have one leader who is a youth and a political analyst who was kidnapped today, just immediately after the president's speech. And you know, as a country, we are wondering if this bill has been drawn, if the president has accepted that indeed these abductions are illegal and unconstitutional, why are our youth not released? Why is the police holding our youth incommunicado?
Pardon me for interjecting there, but what are authorities saying? Because we had even seen on social media where it seemed as though there was some sort of effort to single out certain people as organizers of this protest. And we saw quite a serious pushback from a number of young people that said, we don't have organizers, we don't have leaders, we're just citizens who are suffering, we're all protesting against this bill.
So basically, the country is divided into two views. So we have authorities from the people supporting the president, and we have the people supporting the opposition. So authorities who are supporting the president still maintain that these protests, which has been labeled Generation Z protests, are being funded by foreign power. They insist that there are some people who have individual interests and are pushing our youth to protest. So you look at this line of abductions. Basically what they do, they take these youths, they torture them and force them to say, who is this person who is organizing? And because there's no organizer, you know, it's a group of youth together with the millennials who are coming together through social media platforms, generally the Twitter space, to call out for these injustices. And on the other side, we have the opposition party maintaining that the people have a power. It's the sovereignty of the people speaking in a group, There's no leader. The people are tired, and the people are calling upon the government as a wall for the government to stop all these unnecessary expenditures. You see, the government is trying to tax beyond its limit, you know, so that this money they can raise up to 2.7 billion. And remember, this money is not accounted for. So the opposition is insisting that there's no leader, but the government is insisting that these protests are funded and the leader is somewhere there hiding.
And then as human rights activists, what do you make of just this? Because ever so often we do hear leaders stating that there possibly is somebody funding these type of protests. There could be a third hand or third force. Is it not stripping the young people of Kenya of their agency here, that it has to be somebody else who's telling them to be outraged by their own reality, because they're the ones that are living in poverty?
So my position as a youth and political analyst is this. We have a constitution. In 2010, we passed our constitution. Our constitution gives us power. If you look at Article 1, it says power belongs to the people. If you look at Article 33, it says we have a right to express ourselves. And further, Article 37 says this form of expression can be done through protest, demonstrations, and picketing. So for the government to think that the youth cannot have a voice, the youth have to be manipulated, the youth have to be led in an idea for them to come out and say no, is absurd. We are coming back from a point where the government used to single out these youth leaders and torture them into giving up. You see, even 2 years ago, we had protests by the opposition, and government used to call this opposition into the dialogue. So they'll call them and talk to them and offer them positions here and there for them to calm down and call down the protest. But this time things are difficult because there's no leader. There's no one to call to the table. There's no one to call for dialogue. There's no one to intimidate. That is why the government is panicking and it's at distress.
The president, we must say, has acknowledged that these are legitimate protests, but he went on to say that unfortunately they have been hijacked by criminals. Were there any criminal elements or perhaps criminal activity that the president could have elevated now?
Actually, the correct position is this. The president has done 2 press conferences. The first conference was done yesterday at night at 9 p.m., where he generalized the whole protest as a criminal activity, which is a form of treason. But today, at around 4:40 p.m., he came out again, addressed the nation, and acknowledged that indeed Kenyans have a right to express themselves and that this protest is legitimate. However, he noted that despite this protest having a goodwill of the people, there are some criminal gangs hiding within the protest. However, what does our law say about this? Our law says this: whenever there are criminals or illegal activities within a group, the government has to investigate and arrest these people. Our law does not say the government has to shoot and kill anyone unless it is very necessary to unarm them. If you look at our protests, our protesters were mainly armed with placards, water, and T-shirts. No one had weapons. No one was carrying stones. No one was carrying any form of weapon to arm themselves. However, they were received by policemen, fully armed, with guns, tear gas. And you can see that the balance of power was unproportional. Innocent Kenyans, armed with nothing, faced by policemen with firearms, shooting directly at them. They were not shooting at the sky. They were shooting at these protesters directly. And as you can see, the president said that 6 people have lost their lives, but we can say that that is not correct. Our position is that if you go to Kenyatta National Hospital, today they confirmed 257 people died and injured because of bullets. And as of last night, there was a mass killing at Githurai, a section of Nairobi, where an unconfirmed number of deaths has been witnessed. So we maintain that despite our protests being peaceful, the government has used excessive force and killed several people.
No, Stella, it's quite disturbing, especially those visuals that we've been seeing. But it will most certainly be interesting to see in a couple of days what authorities will have to say about this, as you state, is the disproportionate response to those protests. We're most certainly trying to reach out to the government to get their side of the story around the figure, the number of deaths currently. But thank you very much for your time this evening. That was Stella Kipkulei speaking to us following the death of at least 22 people in Kenya as protest continued into the early hours today.